So I've missed all the action, but here I am on Chatsworth Road next to a tree that was condemned, and everyone's gone, and the situation is they've dug up around the roots of this tree, and it looks like they've put in 2 new bits of pavement. There's a couple of inches between the pavement and the tree roots. Maybe they're a bit closer, a bit lower down. These pavement slabs do go down quite deep. It does look like there's a slight bow in the road here, but it looks like there was a bow here before. We are on a big curve here. And the roots, there's a root there, it's probably about 4 or 5 inches below this surface level of the existing tarmac. Some small surface roots lying around, which looks like they've... Now that's a surface root, possibly one that they could prune. It's near the surface. Possibly that was the cause of cracking, maybe not. It's cut actually, so ignore that comment. And there's a root here. So that root is probably 2 inches, maybe 3 below the surface, and you can see there's been a patch in the road surface around here. For some reason it was probably to do with those roots, but there's definitely scope for just resurfacing the road with those roots intact. It is possible that the roots will swell a little and a crack will reappear, but you've got to take into account the cost of repairing the road again in the next 20 years, as opposed to felling an asset worth 20, maybe £25,000. That's the problem with the council up until now, is they've not been valuing these trees. It's sad that several trees on this road have been removed already using force, upsetting lots of people, using slanderous allegations of poisoning the workforce, and it was all about things like this. So I've just moved up to the very next tree. There's the one that was condemned, and here we have a very similar tree in a pretty similar position. This one isn't condemned, and as you can see there are cracks in the surface of the road. I'm guessing, I can't remember, that these were probably the sort of cracks that we were seeing at the base of the other tree that was causing it to be condemned. Probably less than this, as this one hasn't been condemned, and it's a similar sort of situation. There's a root diving down there, and it's probably quite close to the surface, but probably not something that is unrepairable, as the council in this case have decided. So that tree would not be here now if it wasn't for the efforts of the people on this street and the rest of the campaign, and it looks very positive from what I can see. Just some pictures from the field from the tree. This tree, the AMEY came out and started hacking at it. whilst a resident's car was parked underneath it. As you can see, they've done some significant amount of damage. Even though it was clear on the day that they couldn't fell this tree, they damaged it. And I personally have appealed to them not to do that and asked them why they were vandalising trees when it was clear that they couldn't fell it, and they just carried on with their vandalism. Responsible tree care professionals wouldn't do this. This was entirely motivated by being paid, and in my view, questions need to be asked about the people that did this. You know, I've got lots of examples of the trees that have
Engineers from both AMEY and the tree campaigning group STAG have been working together in Sheffield this morning to try and find a way of saving healthy street tree that was earmarked for felling. It comes after lengthy talks between the City Council and protesters who've objected to the felling of trees as part of the council's Streets Ahead programme to resurface roads and pavements. Well, the result today, it looks like the first tree on the inspections list can be saved.
Now, remember all the anger and dispute over trees being felled in Sheffield? The police, the arrests, the claims of thuggery on both sides, all that's gone for now. Today saw the first day of official cooperation between Sheffield's tree campaigners, STAG, and the contractor AMEY, who are responsible for resurfacing the city's roads and pavements on behalf of Sheffield City Council. Work on the Streets Ahead programme was brought to a standstill by people campaigning to save healthy street trees which were earmarked for felling. Well, today, AMEY's engineering team, led by Nick Hetherington, did exploratory work on one of the such trees, a lime tree on Chatsworth Road in Dore, under the watchful eye of STAG members to see if the engineering fix could save the tree from the axe. Our political reporter Liz Roberts went along for you.
I'm just a bit nervous how close he's getting with this spade to where the roots are going to be, and the fact that there's no arb here to supervise this, which should really be happening.
Yeah, we're just clearing away the loose debris at the moment, that's all.
No, but we're getting a bit close, aren't we, Nick? And I'm seriously a little bit worried about it.
Okay. That's fine.
What we were listening to just there was the sound of an AMEY engineer digging around the roots of a tree that was due to be felled. You've got quite a crowd here,
yeah.
And everything you do, and every step you take, and every spade that gets dug into the ground is being
scrutinised
very closely.
Indeed.
So explain what you are doing.
We're doing an investigation to find out exactly where the roots are and to find out what sort of engineering solution we could do that would mean that we could maintain the highway safely without removing the tree, essentially. The key two things really are where the footways are mounded up by the roots is to expose those roots to see exactly how far they are down, and looking at the curves, where curves have been displaced, where actually are the roots below those curves and what can we put in, either narrow curves or other alternatives.
You've already had to pause briefly because the arborist wasn't here to oversee just a bit of spade work. So this is being done very gingerly.
Oh yeah, I mean, certainly on day one we need to make sure that what we're doing is correct, is safe, and certainly we're not causing any damage to the trees.
Well, we just heard there from the AMEY engineer, but also here is Hugh Clough, retired chartered civil engineer. Have I got that right?
You have, yes.
You're here on behalf of STAG, of the tree campaigners.
Yes, I am. I've done a lot of utility work throughout Sheffield, and in particular in Nether Edge.
So you've dug up a few streets in your town?
I've dug up most of the streets in Sheffield, yes.
So what are you doing here today then? You're going to be keeping your beady eye on what's going on?
But I'm also going to be applying pragmatic engineering solutions instead of dogmatic contractual specifications, which are not appropriate in some of the circumstances.
A bit more digging's been done. Hugh, I'm going to come back to you. What's your initial verdict on this?
I'm looking at it the same way AMEY is, that the curb line can be maintained and the tree can be saved.
Quite as simple as that?
I think so.
Paul Brook, co-chair of STAG. It's not taken very long to potentially reach a conclusion.
No, it's interesting. We were expecting sort of a couple of hours of detailed work and air spading work and some sort of complex head scratching about how it might be possible to retain this tree.
Can I just make a comment? Yeah, I mean, we've selected this one specifically. We didn't think it was going to be a particularly tricky one, so we wanted to get the first one in, get the process right in terms of getting the equipment here, getting everything, and the other ones maybe take longer.
Nevertheless, it was due to be felled. Yeah. The decision was taken at some point to fell it, even though you've just said, well, we knew it wasn't going to be that complicated.
All I can say really is that is what campaigners have been saying for years. People stood under this tree, people defied an injunction to try and protect trees on this road. There are people in Sheffield with suspended prison sentences for trying to defend what we've just seen is a 10-minute fix.
10 minutes is a little exaggeration, personally.
A 10-minute investigation, I suppose, would be fair enough, would it not?
We've been here setting up for an hour or so now, and yeah, this particular one is relatively simple. We've still got further work to do, but in terms of the investigation, a relatively short amount of time. The solution itself will take several hours.
Liz Roberts out on Chatsworth Road indoor.